the Everything But Politics podcast.
Episode 74 is live here. Joining us today is friend of the show and my former coworker, Mr. Omar Medrano. Welcome to the Everything But Politics podcast.
Dude, I'm honored, man. When you gave me the invite, dude, you could have told me come on at 3 a.m. In fact, you could have told me to come on at 1 a.m. on the last day of the month because I still have nightmares of having to stay up till 1 working.
That's so funny. We know you're busy and, appreciate you taking time out of your time right now, whether it be 7 a.m., 7 p.m., 3 a.m. We're just happy to have you here, Omar. And Omar, since last time I saw you, maybe a little before that, you were getting ready and preparing for your first TED Talk. I'm curious, Omar. I don't think people have any idea. I certainly don't. When a TED Talk is being put into place, who reaches out to you? Are you the one reaching out to TED Talk? How does something like that come to fruition?
Well, it's a process. The first thing you have to do is they're all over the country. And you're like a C student and you have to apply like to college. You have to apply. We're not everybody's lucky to go to Arizona, out in school in Arizona or in Baton Rouge at LSU. So I applied like, I don't know, 30 different places. By the time I got accepted, I was still getting rejection letters. I got accepted to TEDx Greenhouse, which was in Houston, Texas. And sometimes it's based on themes. Sometimes it's based on they want to be local. It's just that, and it's a process. You first have to submit. You have to submit an application on what your talk is going to be about. Anywhere from some are a little shorter, 6 minutes to 12 minutes. You have to give them a script. You have to give them a 90-second plug, or just you riffing and saying what you're going to talk about. I was too lazy. It's on my YouTube channel, so my auditions. And then after that, literally when they choose you, you have to give them the script and you have to do a couple of takes. One, you can read it. The second one, you can read it. And then the third one, it has to be memorized and it has to be sent YouTube, and then they verify. And mine almost was not aired because you have to go word for word. And like everything in my life, I never color between the lines. At the very end, I riffed and I ad-libbed the last couple of minutes, and like, oh well, we don't know if this is all factual. This might not air. And they sent me that letter on Thanksgiving, and to me, it was like, dude, I was already on that stage. You can't get bent and twisted over stuff you can't control. So to me, it's like, okay, man. Regardless, it was on my bucket list because, I never saw myself doing that, especially being a severe introvert.
That's awesome. And you do a lot of speaking on your podcast. What if it did work? How did this differ, being in front of a live audience, having different takes, and then, of course, the final take, having it memorized and being ready to perform?
I don't mind talking in front of an audience, but at my age, to have something formally memorized, like 10, 11, 12 minutes, dude, you have plenty of time, but you don't, man. I mean, my hat's off to the actors. I don't care if you're on Broadway or whatever, to memorize a script. The hardest thing was memorization. To me, I mean, I used to be such an introvert, I couldn't talk to people, but it really didn't bother me. What I do is I focus on the naysayers. I focus on people that say I can't. I picture them in the audience, whether it's exes, naysayers, haters, former supervisors that we've had.
Yeah, I totally understand. And yesterday in your seminar, I think this kind of correlates. One of the first mindset, there were 5 mindsets, which we're going to cover all 5. But the first one you covered was you are worthy of dreaming. I guess, this from the kid growing up with ESOL classes to making his way to Baton Rouge to the Smoothie Kings to here we are on this call now. How has your I don't want to say dreaming, but like how has your thought process evolved with what you're able to do with your life?
Dude, my thought process is just never stop dreaming, man. If someone had told me back when I was like, I graduated in 1991 high school, but like 89, that I would go away for school, that I would be the vice president of a fraternity, that that I would be great at sales, that I, all the things I would be shocked. Never stop dreaming. Dude, you and all three of us right now are going after our dreams because it's so much easier to say, hey man, let's be checked out. Why are we doing this? Why aren't we drinking? Why aren't we going out? Why aren't we watching TikTok? Why aren't we just watching videos? Why aren't we just going out to the bar? But we're not, because all three of us right now, we're only one phone call away. We're only one episode away. We're only one idea away from greatness, from being the people that we were always meant to be. But you have to work at it. And it's a process. It takes a while.
And I love what you said there, Omar. How has that perspective kind of changed throughout high school to you at LSU to how you are now?
Dude, it's a process.
Yeah.
The one thing you have to realize, Evan, is, and this is something that everybody hates because everybody lives in this TikTok, bam, bam, bam. Let's drop some dopamine. Woo! Let's watch some we watch social media and some guys promoting, buy my program for only $20. I'll send it to you 6 months, 6 days ago, 2 months ago, I was mowing lawns. Now I'm living in La Jolla. Now I'm partying at Lake Havasu. Now I'm going all around. Dude, it's so much bullshit. The reality is you have to work at it and you have to do it on a consistent basis. And everything that's epic, everything that you've ever dreamt of, it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to be massive, and you're going to have to cut a lot of things that really don't serve you.
And what were some of the things that you cut?
Dude, naysayers, haters, you know, some people smoke cigars, but why smoke cigars? Dude, I was waking and baking, drinking heavily. LSU was the #1 party school. So, 7 days of drinking. I graduated college. I was making a lot of money. Once again, drinking some more, partying some more. And you have to go past. A lot of times we want to hang out with, for the longest time, I was just hanging out with my fraternity brothers. We graduated and it's like, dude, or people from my high school. And it's like, in order to grow, you have to let go, man. You can always visit your campus. You can always visit, but don't live in the past.
And I don't want to jump ahead with your mindsets, but that mindset 4 on your call last night was your circle matters. And I guess while we're on topic, we could discuss that. With, obviously you said you had to cut people off, cut things off, both subjective and objectively. What did you embrace and take on as you began to cut things off in your life?
One thing that sometimes I stay too long, because I always thought maybe this is all hazing. Like the job that we had together, the supervisors that we had, the two supervisors, I was like, well, maybe it's not that bad. Maybe it gets better. Maybe this is just initiation. But there was initiation, but it was like a cult. Either you're all in and you're all, everybody else that left were rational people, man. The people that stayed would be Branch Dravidians, dude. They'd be in Waco, Texas right now. Back in 1990, they would be the heavens, what was it? Haley Bop or whatever, the people that cut their balls off and died. I forgot the name of that cult. That's what they would be. And literally, you have to have the mindset, because I always stick around because my limiting beliefs growing up is like, well, maybe I can get them to like me. Maybe, and that's why when that one supervisor, yours, said that there was nothing that I ever did in my life that impressed him before, that would have been like, oh my God, man, I can't believe somebody said that. But then I looked at the source. Some dude that doesn't even have a high school, probably. Guy tattoos his logo. Could you imagine? I have a degree in journalism. Imagine if I worked at ESPN and I had ESPN logo, or the CNN logo. what a tool. And this guy's telling me I don't impress him. Holy smokes, man. You have a couple DUIs, bro.
Well, that goes to mindset three, which you discussed was, embracing challenges. Obviously, a lot of challenges come up when you're working in sales. When you look back at your career, and was your first sales position post LSU, while at
Oh,
LSU?
no, while at LSU. While at LSU, dude. There's two things. I had this huge fear of rejection, man. I left Miami because Miami sucked for me. It wasn't that I was a tool. I wouldn't ask out a chick because, oh my God, if she rejected me, holy smokes, the Miami Herald would find out, the Sun Sentinel, friggin' Fox, friggin' CNN, which just started. Everybody would know, the whole neighborhood. And I was paralyzed with fear. And then at LSU, I was my pledge class president, but I wouldn't talk. And they're like, how do we get this guy out? So they were hazing me, and they didn't realize this literally changed my life. In Baton Rouge, you go out every night drinking. So we would go out to the bars, and I would have to ask out chicks to either dance or for a drink. They all knew to say no because they were friends of the fraternity. Or if they weren't, they're with some guy and they wanted Friday night fights. And after a while, I would have to introduce myself that, hey, I'm Omar, but that you can call me Goose. And people would be like, why? Because I'm like Top Gun. All I do is crash and burn. And after that, I realized, yeah, exactly, right? But my first sales job coming out of that was I was the vice president, but I was also the social director. And we needed to raise funds for we wanted to have an epic, it was called South Seas, around spring break, hire a band, keggers, the whole 9 yards. So why do it off our dime? So what we did was we would do quote unquote for charity for the Arboretum or something like that. We got busted because we forgot to even give them, we were only going to give them like $50, but we would go, they had me go to businesses around campus and go, hey, we're having a party and we would love for you to advertise on our social shirt. And, we'll put your business on and we're going to give these out. And this is great advertisement. And I had a high conversion out of everybody else. I had a couple of no's, but surprisingly, and that's where my sales job became. That's not even in the book about that.
That's another question I had for you is we've been fortunate enough to speak with a few authors now, but what does that process look like, writing a book? Like, do you just get a piece of paper out and write down your thoughts and then kind of organize and put it together? I mean, what does that look like for you?
For me, I'm old school, dude. I write shit down because I graduated college without ever using a computer. I mean, heck, good thing, man. Some of my fraternity brothers would still be locked in with watching porn online, but no, I just writing stuff down on a notebook and riffing, and just like how I guess an artist just riffs. Some stuff works, some stuff doesn't. The first book was really it was more salesy, and it was about how it took me 40 years to ask out my neighbor. Now, yes, I did get married and I dated a million women, but I never could ask out the girl I grew up with. People always look at me like, oh shit, this guy, it took him 40 something years to get laid. No, I finally got the courage to ask, we were both married the whole 9 yards. It took me 40 years. I was with her and, she became a hater, but I was writing the book and I got dumped and I had to rewrite everything. And it got completely cut out, any part of that, except for one part, which both the editor and myself didn't catch. It said something like, and it was a typo, that my biggest regret was like asking out a girl that I knew for over 40 years, which I had to reread the book. I'm like, man, that's funny as hell.
What's I don't want to use the word weird, but what's more of a, yeah, I will use the word weird. Is it more weird to read your own book or to listen to one of your own podcasts?
Dude, it's both. Fuck, it's both friggin' weird because I used to listen to the podcast because within the first like 6 months, 7 months, people said it could be a drinking game. Could take a shot every time I said and all that, because I would say it a lot. So, I don't anymore. And people would point that out. But it's weird. I still haven't even seen the YouTube video of my TED Talk.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
How many people were in that room?
More dude, I can't even remember. Enough that high school Omar would probably piss in his pants.
You walk off that stage and you kind of like begin to collect your thoughts. You're like, holy fuck, I just did that.
Dude, it's I was fucking like nervous as hell. And then the Uber driver fucking gets lost and I'm hyperventilating. Now, if like one of those people, oh, this is a sign, but I'm like, oh fuck, oh fuck. Then when I got there, I had to be the first one to go. And I'm like, one thing that they don't tell you, okay, I did it. And I didn't realize that if you flub, they can do multiple takes. So there was this old dude. Yeah, I'm old, but this guy's older. And I guess cancer dude or whatever. But he fucking stopped like every fucking sentence. I don't know how nearly his speech would have put me under a coma, but I wasn't paying attention. I didn't watch it, but I'm like, holy shit, this guy's like, I felt bad for him. But yeah, they spliced it together. I don't know how. I guess maybe Steven Spielberg for post production and James Cameron.
And Omar, something you discuss a lot is like believing in yourself, belief. As a father of two, how do you kind of push your daughters to believing in themselves and knowing that they can achieve anything they want?
Always. I I've been their friggin' coach, personal business development, is with my ex since day one. My youngest started travel soccer late at 9. Yeah, I know. That you're like, wait, yeah, for these people, you have to start like at 5 or 6. And she was a stocky kid, and so she didn't have any skills. Usually sane people be like, well, you know, she's just starting. But it's like win, 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 win. So they treated her like she needed to wear a football helmet. And like fucking like the grading and the coach is a douche. Like, okay, 5 minutes before halftime, we'll put you in. Shit like that. Most kids would have been like, fuck, this isn't for me. What my kid did was like, she lost all that weight and they wouldn't even let her try out. We had to take her to a different club. And she actually made a higher ranked team. And she was a starter. And it's just that focus, that mindset, man. If somebody tells you no, fuck them, man. Who are they, A lot of times we take some asshole that's not successful, that's shitting on you and go, oh yeah, yeah. But last I checked, I mean, my youngest now, she's 16. I don't think any of those kids and their parents, none of them are at, getting ready to go play for the US national team.
That's impressive, 100%. I mean, that shows
Yeah.
just the ability to keep fighting towards, your goals and dreams. I love it.
Well, dude, everything is possible. The only reason why people are stuck is usually because they listen to someone else. Have you guys, man, you guys had some heavy hitters. Have any of them seemed like they live in scarcity? Any of them seemed like a complete dick and like, yeah, we don't believe in you. You guys suck. No, because it's always someone that you want, like your buddy or your parent or someone in your quote unquote inner circle that you're like, yeah, I want this person to believe in me. And they're not. They're going to bring you down. Man, there's people that have taken shots. There's people that, oh, I've never read your book. Well, neither is 8 billion people. They haven't read either book. Why the fuck are you telling me that? Or I haven't heard your podcast. And I'm like, it is telling me that you haven't heard my podcast. Is that for me or is that for you?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
unfortunately,
true.
so many haters than people who try to push you up. And my question to you is, why do you think that is?
Because It sucks. Deep down inside, somebody that quit, somebody that never had a dream, if they see somebody that they know go balls out, go out and achieve any level of success, it's like, oh my gosh. Oh, it's like where your brother and I worked. Unless you could cure cancer and it still wouldn't be good enough because they try to push you down. They try to put you down that you're not good enough. And you have to look at the source. I mean, one dude, metrosexual guy, had a friggin' my supervisor looked like he had a broom for his fucking face.
And
Oh, Evan, one moment. I want to talk about mindset two now, which is don't get stuck on the word two. And you could, use it to apply many situations, but with your daughter and her soccer team, you're too short, you're too slow, whatever it may be. How did you, push her to, kind of blow that word off? And how have you personally blown that word off when you've heard it in a negative context?
Because once you quit at something, it becomes a habit. Once you listen to someone, oh, hey, man, Merrick, this isn't for me, man. I can't lose weight. I can't write a book. Who am I? Oh, yeah, I'll wait for next year. Quitting becomes easier and easier. You have to have that mindset. There's two choices we have. When somebody says you can't do it, are you going to turn around, slink back, look down and go, yeah, they're right? Or you have to be stubborn, man. Who are all these people, dude? They're nobody. In the grand scheme of things, I've never seen Warren Buffett shit on people. I've never seen, I've never seen Howard Schultz, founder of Starbucks, 3-time CEO, go, you know what? You guys suck. No, man, it's always some idiot that lives in their basement or someone that peaked at high school, dude, just trying to cling
And
on
I've
to glory.
Totally. And I've heard you mention Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger last night. I take it those two have had a huge impact on you in your life.
Oh, completely. I was a financial advisor. So just think about it. Some guy fearful of hearing no. I was a financial advisor for 4 years. But yeah, dude, I actually went to Omaha. I was still married, so it's like maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago, to the annual shareholder meeting. And man, I mean that is ground zero for capitalism to be there because you had Bill Gates, you had Charlie Munger, you
Wow.
had all these investors, you had Warren Buffett talking. I mean, you probably had socialists like outside like friggin' convulsing. But yeah, dude, because I mean, he'll even say it. The most honest guy. Everything takes time. Investing takes time. Yeah, people would ask me, "Oh, I need a grand slam with stocks." Yeah, dude. Doesn't everybody? But it's not, it's like the person saying, a lot of people think their retirement plan is, oh, I'm just going to win on the progressive slots at Caesar's Palace, or I'm going to have a long lost uncle that's going to croak and give me 10 million. Good job waiting on all those.
so obviously going
So
back
funny.
to,
And
sorry, go ahead, Mark.
well, I was just, you're talking about like people that have inspired you and potentially even coaches or mentors. We mentioned Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett. Who else is on that list? Whether it be, in the podcast game, authors, et
Oh
cetera.
yeah, dude. Yeah, completely. Uh Podcasts and just overall mentors, Ed Milet, friggin' Andy Frisella. I mean, I just do first form because I hope one day that he's either on my podcast or I'm on his. Let's see, Grant Cardone, Anthony Robbins, Trent Shelton. But believe it or not, man, the list is long, man. Zig Ziglar, who's dead. I became a Zig Ziglar coach just because of his words, man, of being in abundance. I always wanted to work for Grant Cardone, but they don't hire old people. I know it's age discrimination, but life goes on. So I thought, you know, eh, Pat was never, I never saw a podcast, never read a book. never did anything because he never really, and this was before the fact, but it wasn't for the fact that they told me it was going to be like working for Anthony Robbins or working for Grant Cardone. And, it simply wasn't. Um, even fiction. Chuck Palahniuk, the guy that wrote the Fight Club. I always wanted to write fiction. The reason why it took me forever to write a book was I'm like, shit, I can never write a book like that. We always want to be the next. I want to be the next Ed Milet. I want to be the next Grant Cardone. I want to be the next Gary Vee. The world already has one of those. What we need to be is we need to be the very best version of who we are, not carbon copies of others.
Totally. And so we named all these, legendary figures. Let's talk about Mindset 5 now. You need a coach or mentor. For you, up to this point in your life, who has that been for you?
My first, I hired a Tony Robbins business coach. I had one for many years. She took me from scaled one store to ultimately I had 5 Smoothie King stores, 2 Supercuts. Let's see, who else have I had as a personal mentor? I paid a lot of money to be with Ty Lopez for a year. I would fly out like 4 or 5 times a year to go to his house in Beverly Hills. Grant Cardone, I'm a licensed
I like him.
coach. So yeah, he's another one. I've done everything. I've got a million. Well, we don't do pictures and all that because we know each other. Uh, let's see, who else have Michael Burt, who's based out of Murfreesboro, Tennessee, super coach. He pushed me to write a book and to become a business coach. So yeah, those I did Anthony Robbins, my ex-wife, Millie and I. She was a pharmaceutical sales rep. I was a financial advisor. We took a Tony Robbins seminar, walked on fire, and we decided to become our own business owners.
Love it.
Yeah.
So you've obviously you want to go on all these guys' podcasts, and you have your own podcast you've been doing for 3 years now. What is something that you know now that you didn't know when you first started in the podcast industry?
In the podcast industry, patience.
Yeah.
You just have to do episode after episode. Screw the naysayers. Don't care what any of these people say about your podcast. Don't look at the numbers, man, because I'm closing in on 400,000 downloads, but that's like what, 3 years later. I mean, I was begging. I was like texting people. I had some people tell me to quit texting them every Wednesday. And I was like, well, then why don't you subscribe and I won't have to bother you? And then you have to, here's the number one thing I learned. Put people on your show that will entertain you. People that follow in your in what you want people to believe. Just don't put random people, and then also learn from these. Be selfish. This is for you. And then also, I mean, I promote like hell whenever I'm on anybody's podcast because I would want them to do that. But the bigger the person, I mean, I had Jen Sincero on. I've had Evan Carmichael, Randy Gage. They didn't promote. They didn't do anything. They didn't move the
Yeah.
needle. It was just like any other other podcast guest episode. And believe it or not, people want to listen more to actually everyday people. That's just the ego. Ed Milet being on my show or Andy Frisella, I'm not all of a sudden going to be on Oprah's couch promoting a new book or in the book of the month club. That's more for yourself. That's more for your ego. That's more to say, I've arrived.
But yeah, and like you've said, we've had some bigger guests on our show, and like you said, they don't share, and it is what it is. We have a great time talking with them. We learn a lot from the podcast, and we're just appreciative of that they're able to come on our show.
That's all you have to do is you have to put it like a feather in your cap, say, "Hey, man, look who I've had." To put it on your one sheet, to put it in your brag book. But they're not going to move the needle unless you have like literally God or or someone on your podcast, it's not going to move the needle. Just know that, yeah, these heavy hitters, they're for your own benefit. And plus, everything, when you do have an episode with these people, they're going to say the same shit that they've told the other 40, 50 people before you.
Omar, it's been great having you on the podcast. Before we let you go, why don't you plug the podcast and let people know where they can find you?
Dude, I'm like friggin' everywhere, man. I'm like, I know you guys are chosen, but you're gonna love this. I'm like the patron saint of lost causes, St. Jude. I'm not chasing people after money. If anybody DMs me on Facebook, on Instagram, friggin' TikTok, MySpace, I don't have a MySpace account. You can fax me, you can telegram me, you can friggin' Morse code me. You can tie a can with a string. I'll answer. Just don't try to sell me crypto. Just don't try to sell me a ticket to the vault. Don't try to sell me Forex. Don't try to sell me TRT or testosterone. I will help you out. My podcast is What If It Did Work? You can join my page, What If It Did Work, as well on Facebook. Random videos. Other people can post. You guys can join. You guys can post. You guys can promote.
Awesome.
You can plug away. Everywhere, Omar Medrano. 2 books. What If It Did Work? My number 1, it's my baby. It's all about mindset. The second book is on how to be a leader and not a boss, and how to run and how to scale a company. And it's called Vacation CEO.
Awesome.
Omar, very much for coming on the Everything But Politics podcast.
Okay, well, I want you guys on. Like, I'm a little booked because, well, I showed Merrick, but like late March, just so that I can air it like in a week or two and not be a complete douche and go, oh yeah, believe it or not, you guys would always be front and center because I love you. There's some people that I've had wait for a year just because they are douchebags.
Don't you text me and make it happen. That's for sure.
Dude, you guys made my Friday night, man.
And you made ours. We appreciate it.
All right, man. Take care.